I'm Henry Fitzherbert, journalist and broadcaster, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with the legendary Greek actress Nonika Galinea, whose extraordinary career has spanned 50 years on the stage in Athens and elsewhere, especially here in London. Welcome, Nonika. Thank you very much for being with me today. I'd like to ask you, first of all, about your time in London, because here we are, and this is a part of the world which means a great deal to you. You've performed here, you have great friendships here. Is it true to say that in some ways you feel half British?
I do. Although I have to add that in spite of being half British, I adore my country. And not for a minute have I stopped feeling that I am Greek. And I love Greece with all my heart, and I'm very proud of my country and for being Greek. Yes. But the fact that half of my life has been spent here, and actually I started from a school. Before I went to the drama school, I went to an English school in Switzerland, and I have my Oxford School certificate. So, yes, of course, it's impossible not to feel half British, yes, because even my character was influenced, yes, by the way the English people think and react, yes, and by their integrity. And I hope that I am very much like them.
And it was in London that you studied at the renowned Webber Douglas Drama School after attending Secretarial College. For a young woman who had dreamt of being an actress since she was 5 years old, this must have been a huge moment for you.
It was the happiest moment of my life when I heard the directors, after I made the speech of Shakespeare, Lady Anne, of Richard III, and I heard them say, yes, she's got it. It's okay. And I had only said a few sentences. I mean, they didn't wait for me to say the whole speech. I got in right away. I can't tell you, I could cry.
And in those days, it can't have been easy for a young woman to pursue a career on the stage, or any career, and you were expected to get married and have children, presumably.
Well, everybody else expected that, yes, from me. And I think I made a mess of it, because when I finished the drama school, at the same time, love came along, and there was a very good-looking Greek ship owner that really came after me, and I fell in love with him. And he persuaded me that we had to get married, and I got ready for that, in spite of the fact that the director of the school told me, don't go away, you will come with us, and we'll go on a tour. And it broke my heart that I had to split into two, because I didn't really want to get married, but it was just the fact that I was in love. And I had to leave school, and I had to prepare myself to get married to this man. And while he was with me, he was preparing another marriage with actually a relative of his, because in the ship owners' families, at that time, I don't know about now because I have no idea, but at that time it was very the thing to do, to marry between cousins so that the money wouldn't split away. So he married somebody else, and I thought I was going mad, because I had lost that chance of doing what I really wanted to do. And so I went to a psychiatrist. I didn't know anybody in Greece because I was away for so many years. And so my friends told me, we will take you to a psychiatrist who is a very, very good-looking man. In fact, he was supposed to be the best-looking man in Athens. But for God's sake, don't fall in love with him, because all the women fall in love with him, and he just throws them out. So just because they told me that, I did not fall in love with him, but he fell in love with me. And he asked me to marry him. And he was going to Paris to work in the two wonderful, he was a psychiatrist, at Sainte-Anne and Salpêtrière. And it was a wonderful life before me. And it was the only way that could actually make me feel that all the terrible things that had happened to me came out to be for a good reason, because I was beginning a new life in Paris. And I had 3 children with this man. He was a bright, very good-looking and great personality person. And obviously we had a rows and...
But you hadn't yet given up on your dreams?
No, I never gave up on my dreams. He took me to the theatre very often, and I used to faint in the theatre. So much I had the urge of doing what I really wanted to do, and he helped me very much.
So after 5 years in Paris and having children, you returned to Greece and joined the Theatre of Arts with the director Carlos Koun.
Yes.
Did you ever imagine this would be the start of a remarkable 50-year career on the stage?
Absolutely not. I had no idea. And, well, of course, I had some things that made me think that something would mean something. I mean, when I went to say whatever I was going to say in order to pass my exam, again, after I said 2 sentences, he said to me, "Okay, you're in." So I didn't even finish what I had studied to say. Well, that, of course, gave me a hope that perhaps there was something.
You never got to finish your auditions?
No. Just a couple of sentences, that was all. Yeah. And then the fact that in spite of being in his school, he didn't leave me in the school. He took me with him at rehearsals. He was doing The Birds of Aristophanes, and he was going on a huge tour in... we started from London at the Aldwych Theatre. It was magic. He put me in another world. I didn't belong to anybody anymore. I didn't belong to my husband or to my children. I was trapped, but in a way that I wanted to be trapped.
Yes.
I knew that I belonged in that world, yes. And that world was the only real meaning of my life. How awful for my children, because I love them terribly. But I have to be honest and say how I felt. Yes. And yes, we came to Aldwych, and
you performed for some very distinguished guests, including the royal family.
The royal family was there, and
who from the royal family was there?
Princess Margaret.
Yes.
And Sir Tony Armstrong-Jones, and Princess Marina of Kent. I'm not sure about the others because I remember Peggy Ashcroft and Peter O'Toole.
They all came to see you?
Yes, and there were 2, there was a very big reception because there was somebody terribly important at the time who organized all this. His name was Peter Daubney. And that's where we met all the actors afterwards and spoke with them, etc. And there was also a dinner party at the Greek embassy where I had the privilege of sitting next to Tony Armstrong-Jones.
And is he a bit of a rascal?
He was marvelous. He was so charming. And we spoke about Greece, actually. He was crazy about Hydra, the island. And Princess Margaret was so beautiful with a lovely yellow evening dress. And I don't think she enjoyed very much the fact that we had such a lovely time.
We'll read between the lines.
So, yes, that was London for me.
But just jumping forwards, and then we'll go back, but that wasn't your only contact with the royal family, because many years later you were invited to dinner at Kensington Palace by Princess Diana, I believe, after her divorce from Prince Charles.
Yes, we had a common friend, and so I met her. We went to see a ballet together first at the Royal Opera House, and then I was invited at Kensington Palace. She was not with Prince Charles anymore, and she gave a very big dinner party. I was crazy about her. How could you not be crazy about her? She was so beautiful and so shy.
Kind
And unique. I can't say another word for her. She is unique, and she still is unique. Nobody ever since these 20 years has not been born that could be like her. No, she has kept the title of the people's princess, and she has kept the word unique, which is for her.
The defining partnership of your life, professionally and personally, was with the legendary actor Alekos Alexandrakis,
yes,
with whom you set up and ran the famous Elysia Theatre for 25 years. Can you tell us how you first met?
Yes. He was the top actor and extremely good looking. And I always say things about looks because beauty plays a very big part in me, and you know, I'm in love with beauty, really. And when we got together, we were in the same play. It was a patriotic play, and he was playing a great poet, Solomos, and I was playing the Countess Solomos. He was married, and he had a child, and I thought, you know, I had just divorced, and I thought, oh, no, I mustn't let myself go. But it was too strong, and the fact that he also fell in love with me.
So an instant chemistry, would you say?
It was an instant chemistry, but we kept it from ourselves. We didn't want to admit it for a couple of months or so. And then it was just a passion, a real passion. And thank God for that, because we were terribly happy for very many years. And the theatre really brought us even more together. And we had this passion for our work. And it was a wonderful life, because one play was coming after the other, and we were terribly excited about the whole thing, and we were creating, and people loved us together, and we never quarreled, only on the stage. On the stage, we would...
Yes.
You know?
Like the Burton and Taylor of Greece.
Yes. Well, you're saying...
Well... I mean, and
thank you for that.
But it's true.
I will accept it,
It's
though,
true.
because it's
true.
so wonderful that I will not say no.
And you've said Alekos is the man who made you. What did you mean by that?
He did. He was extremely wise, and he had he was an actor for very many years, so he had a great experience, and he was terribly serious about his work, and he was very strict with me on the stage, but he was so kind that he even said to me, maybe I shouldn't say that, but he did say it so many times, he said, I'm so strict with you, and I will never let you play with your facilities because you are a better actress than I am.
Wow. Well,
That's
honest of him to say that.
That was very honest, and I'm very grateful to him, and I will always love him because he's not with us anymore.
Yes.
He left us.
What would you say were the creative high points of your collaboration with Elekos? Anything that really stands out?
Well, it was a great life through our plays.
Yes.
We did wonderful plays. We played, well, I don't know where to start from. Tennessee Williams and Albee and O'Neill and all the great things that actors want to play, and The Visit of Dürrenmatt, and people loved us together.
And did you also off stage sort of feel like you were in some way owned by the Greek public? Did you feel you had to sort of perform off stage as well as on for them, for your fans?
No, I was always myself. No, I didn't have to do that. I didn't feel I had to do that. I think people want you to be real off stage. They have enough of that. And I had enough of it. In fact, it was about 20 years after very hard work and very big roles that I had a breakdown. And I was doing Longest Journey into Night at the time by O'Neill, and it was Stuart Burge who had come from London to direct it, and he was a wonderful director. He had even worked with Laurence Olivier. He was a wonderful person. We were great friends, and he did a wonderful performance of that play. But something terrible had happened to me at the time. Every time I went in my dressing room to get ready for the performance, I had a terrible, terrible headache. And I had to perform ill. And obviously, I felt that I wasn't as good as I should be. I wasn't given to my audience what I wanted to. And I was desperate.
Was it partly the character you were playing as well?
Well, the character was a help because she is a very frustrated woman, and she it blended with my case, you know. But I still didn't feel that I was good enough. And one evening, I was desperate. And in fact, in the part, there was a sentence that the actress was saying rather to herself and was not supposed to be heard by the audience. And so I said this sentence. I can't remember what it was. And I heard from the audience a very warm voice of a man who gave a very slight laughter, not laughter, you know, something like that, that made me understand that he understood what I was saying. And I had a contact with that voice. And it changed my whole part of myself. And I didn't know, you know, I wanted to tell him that I got the message. So I started playing with my body. Not so much with the words, I have to say, but with my body, which was, I have to admit, sexual. It was a sexual feeling that I was giving to someone whom I didn't know who he was. And when we finished the performance and I went in my dressing room, I was in despair because I thought, if this man comes to say hello and say thank you for the performance or so, and maybe he's short and fat and bold and I don't know what, all the magic that I had inside me and all this gift that I had from him would vanish. So next day, I started doing the same thing because it was the only thing that could take away my headache.
You identified somebody in the audience
yes,
to perform too.
I was always playing for the unknown theatre goer.
Would you look for somebody specifically?
Absolutely not. You don't look. No, when you are on the stage, first of all, the lights won't allow you, and you wouldn't recognize anybody. But no, you only focus on what you're doing on the stage. The audience is a different world altogether. No, that was not it. But it changed my whole attitude, and I was thankful and grateful to the unknown theatre goer that allowed me to go through this terribly difficult part. And actually, I dare say,
one of your greatest performances.
Yes, it was a success, a personal success of mine.
So this stranger who had no idea he's responsible for this, for unlocking the key to your and you've dubbed him the stranger in the way you tell the
thank
story.
God he didn't come.
Yeah, we don't know who he is.
And that's the way I start my book, because I don't know if you know that I did my autobiography, and the first chapter is dedicated to the unknown theatre goer that helped me go through a very difficult part of my life because of his unknown personality that I never got to know.
It's a wonderful story. You're unique amongst Greek actresses for working with so many renowned English directors, including Frank Hauser, who was the much respected...
Frank Hauser, great friend of mine.
And he was,
we did The Seagull, which was a great success. And Frank was always laughing. He had such a sense of humor that he made us so happy. It was a wonderful, wonderful, And who else was it? Nancy Duguid, with whom I did A Streetcar Named Desire. And it was Leon Rubin. We did The Visit of Dürrenmatt, and we did Fedot, the lady from Maxim, which was a musical.
Did you like working with English directors?
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. They were so near me. There was a terrible contact with me and British people, always.
You just felt an affinity.
Yes, I was terribly fond of them, and so were they. We were very close.
And in 1979, you acted in Harold Pinter's The Homecoming in Athens, a very famous production.
That was Minos Volanakis, who also worked in England for many, many years with great actresses like Vanessa Redgrave.
He was the director.
Yes. And he was a great friend of Harold Pinter. And so we did The Homecoming. And Pinter came to see us in Greece. In fact, we had dinner together in one of the actors' house, a lovely house, Nikos Kourkoulos. He was wonderful in the play. It was a wonderful performance. And I fell in love with Pinter, and he's my favorite author, Chekhov and Pinter.
In England, he has quite a mixed reputation. A lot of people found him quite difficult person to deal with on a personal level, but clearly you didn't.
Well, I didn't know him so well, but I like the fact that he was difficult. Why should people be easy?
Yeah.
I don't see that. I don't think it's very interesting. He had many reasons to be difficult, because what he produced was genius. So why not be difficult? It's his privilege.
Yes.
Anyway, we had dinner together, and then he asked us to read a poem that he had just written for his father who had died. And I saw Pinter saying this poem and crying. And I will never, never, never forget him.
What a moment.
Say something.
Yes. So did you continue that friendship with Harold Pinter in London when you were over here?
Well, I saw him for lunch once at Scott's. He usually went to Scott's for lunch. And he was very pleased to see me, and we spoke about the play and about my part and about his health. He was already very ill. And I said a lie. I said, I see that you look so well. And he did that. That's what he did. And then when I played in Covent Garden, I called, and he said he was too ill to come.
And so the last time you saw him was at Scott's?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what year was that, roughly, do you think?
2002 or 3.
And going back to the Elysia, you not only acted and produced, but you translated 17 plays into Greek, I believe. How did you manage all those different responsibilities and challenges?
I didn't. That's why I got ill. And I went to many doctors because I was knocked out. And they all told me the same thing. If you want to kill yourself, why do you come to us? Change your life. But I couldn't change my life.
I mean, performing in so many demanding psychological dramas can't have helped.
55 plays.
Yes.
I did. 55. And 17 translations. And the book that I wrote twice. Because it was
all-consuming life. You gave your life to the theatre.
I gave my life, and I'm so happy for that, because my life is very small in comparison to what theatre gave me.
You're the only leading actress to have performed 5 times at the Athens Concert Hall in many classic works, including St. Joan by Claudel and The Millionairess by Bernard Shaw. Is there a particular performance that stands out for you there?
There were huge performances, yes, but I think Phaedra, which went also to Epidaurus, was my greatest, dare I say, success. And of course, it's a wonderful part because she's terribly in love with her stepson, and she kills herself. She commits suicide, but she prepares his death before she dies. So it's a tremendous play, and it was a tremendous success. I love it. I love it.
Your close relationship with England was celebrated in 2003 with a special performance and reception in Covent Garden, raising money for Doctors Without Borders, in which you acted alongside your daughter Amalia Mutusi. Can you tell us about the event?
Yes, I have to say that it was Yannis Kokos, also an international director, who did the direction of it, and who was a great friend of ours, and we were really very close, and we were very happy with this these two performances, because we did one play of Tennessee Williams and one of Strindberg. My daughter was extremely good, and the whole performance was really terribly, terribly successful. And I don't know, Frances de la Tour, who was there.
She wrote a letter.
She wrote a letter, and she used the word integrity. So with her permission, I'm saying this word, and I think that says it all.
And she was talking about the integrity of your performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of our acting. Yeah. It was, I think, the happiest moment of my career. The first happy moment was at the drama school.
Yes, Webber Douglas.
And then the happiest moment of my whole career was when I played.
And is that partly the acknowledgement you received from your peers, from your fellow actors?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's why it meant so much.
It meant so much because it was in English, and because it was a continuation of what I had started and had never been able to do during all these years. For me, it was...
And your autobiography, My Life Come Back, was published in 2005 and received a special presentation at the Dorchester Hotel in London in 2008, attended by the Greek consul to London.
Yes.
That must have been a very proud moment.
It was amazing because the book was written in Greek, and in spite of that, it was a big event. They even played the Greek hymn, and I was terribly touched by that and by the way they even wanted to buy the book. And I was just writing wishes in English and gave the book to them.
And did writing come easily to you, writing the play?
I wrote it in 21 days.
Yeah. So it all came out very fast.
Like that. I am like that. I can't sort of wait and see and think, and I'm very spontaneous and very energetic, and energetic is not really the word. It comes from a passion.
Passion, yes, feeling.
Energetic is not really good enough. Yes.
Well, and after translating so many plays, it was nice to produce your own.
Yes, I worked very hard. My joy was work. So I never complained about that. It was what kept me and what made me dream, and the fact that I was so near those wonderful writers, because when you translate, of course, you have to do with the writer himself. So I was in contact with Albee, with O'Neill, with Strindberg. It was... Yeah. What a life.
So how did you find the time for your family?
Yeah. I've often asked my children, and they said that, yes, we missed you terribly because obviously you had to be in the theatre. But when I was with my children, I was so terribly close to them and to the point of what we had to go through together, and that they...
So when you were there for them, you were really there for them?
I was there with my whole being, and we have a wonderful relation. Yeah. They're great friends of mine because I had them when I was terribly young.
Yes.
So the difference is not terrible. They don't feel that they have an old mother.
No.
Well,
Well, they don't.
And anyway, we're a very happy family.
Yes. And do you feel proud that 2 of your daughters have followed in your footsteps?
Oh, I'm very proud. And, well, I'm never proud as a mother because I don't feel that I own them. I'm proud for them and for their happiness and for their creative characters and for the wonderful life that they decided to follow after mine. Because obviously if they theatre, we only spoke about theatre with Alekos.
Well, I think that's a great tribute to you as a mother, because if they clearly don't resent you for all the time you spent in the theatre, otherwise they would have run a mile from the theatre.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly, yes.
You've received many awards, including in 2006 the Kiveli Award for your contribution to Greek theatre. Is there one award which means most to you?
The second one.
Yeah.
It's the award that I received from Nikos Kourkoulos when Nikos was dead. And
It's an award named after him, is it?
It was an award named after him with my name and for my contribution to the theatre. And because Nikos was the best friend I had in the theatre, and his loss meant a lot to me. Obviously, it came as a present after his death.
It was a sort of lifetime achievement award. Yeah. And how did he mentor you in some ways, or was he just a friend?
He meant a lot of things.
You've said that your life resembles a fairy tale. Do you consider yourself very lucky?
I do. Very lucky. Not only because of the good things that happened to me, but because all the bad things that happened to me turned out to bring me luck.
Good fortune.
Good fortune.
Yes.
So, yes, I never expected that I would have this kind of life.
That must have shaped your philosophy, that in a way, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly.
You've always had to fight in your life.
I always fought in my life.
Nothing's been given to you.
I still do. You can't create anything if you don't fight, and mostly if you don't have a tough time. I think that it's absolutely necessary to go through tough times in order to be able to create.
And that struggle informs your work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes you a strong person. You have to bear things. Life is not a bed of roses. And thank God for that, because what a bore.
Yes. You last acted on stage, I believe, in 2010. So for you, this has been a decade of watching theatre rather than performing it. What have been the highlights for you?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, I want to say that now that I don't act anymore, I still love theatre with passion. But the reason I love theatre with passion is when I see an actor performing in a way that he can take me into this world of our own that only actors share. We have the same language, we have the same dream of life. And of course, I don't enjoy many performances anymore. I'm quite critical inside me. I don't say, but
critical of the actors or the overall productions?
Of the productions on the whole. But when I see great actors, like I saw Ralph Fiennes in Richard III, I collapsed. I've seen Ian McKellen in Richard III. My God. I've seen Redgrave in so many plays, In fact, she played Arkadina, which I played in Greece with Frank Horser. And she played it in a marvelous way. And I was furious with myself for not having thought about playing it the way she did. Anyway, actors they're the only people on this earth that can make me dream and can really make me a happy person. And I'm so grateful and thankful to this wonderful city and to these wonderful people who are such great artists. And I feel that somehow I am in their family.